a lot in this high-stakes showdown over immigration enforcement. So with that, let's bring in Senator Dave McCormick from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He's also a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, so we're going to get his insight into what's going on with Iran. But first, Senator, I want to start with what I think is like really dangerous anti-ICE rhetoric by too many Democrats, including the crazy guy in your state in Philadelphia, District Attorney Larry Krasner, who called ICE agents wannabe Nazis. Let's take a listen.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will.
So, I mean, he said hunt them down, right? I mean, he's a district attorney. Not helpful, especially with what's been going on in this country in Minnesota.
Yeah, hey, Rob, great to be with you. Listen, this is a moment where President Trump is leading the charge in fulfilling his primary campaign promise, which is to secure the border, and in particular to deport these violent criminals, these cartel members, the people that have really brought violence to American communities. And in order for our law enforcement officials and ICE and the Border Patrol to do that well, we need the support of local law enforcement. And so what Governor Walz and the mayor of Minneapolis did was irresponsible, really inciting violence. And it makes the responsibility and tough job of these law enforcement officers all the more difficult. And Larry Krasner in Pennsylvania is an absolute disgrace. He's the district attorney in Philadelphia. He literally compared those ICE agents to Nazis and said we should hunt them down. That kind of rhetoric has no place. It only leads to violence. And the president, I think, is doing the right thing. He's de-escalating the rhetoric and the situation in Minneapolis, staying true to the mission of deporting those violent criminals. And he's saying we're going to investigate and continue to learn to make sure that we do the best job we can do in enforcing the country's laws. I think he's handled a very difficult situation well.
So, you know, the immigration issue, the open borders, I mean, there's a direct correlation between that and potentially voting, right? And you're a co-sponsor of the SAVE Act, which would require proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. The House passed it. It's kind of stalling in the Senate. I mean, you would think this is a no-brainer that we could all agree on, but Democrats, of course, are screaming racism and blocking it. So where does it stand?
Well, I think it's gaining some momentum in the House. As you mentioned, I campaigned on this. Listen, our elections have to be fair. They have to be honest, and people have to believe they're fair and honest. And so it seems very reasonable. Our law requires it should be a U.S. citizen to vote. Let's have proof of citizenship in order to vote, voter ID. This is something that's basic common sense. We have some momentum in the Senate, I think. I am an enthusiastic supporter of this. There are others that are joining that cause. And so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get the majority, the strong majority of our caucus. And that puts us in a position, if we get over 50, that I hope we can begin to have the possibility of bringing this to the floor. The other thing I want to say, Rob, which is equally important, is reforming the census. Under Joe Biden, we allow illegal immigrants to explicitly be included in the census. The reason that's so devastating is that leads to more congressional seats in these Democratic areas. So it really tips the scale, puts a finger on the scale, and it changes the Electoral College. We have to do both. We have to reform the census process, and we have to have voter ID, and I'm a strong supporter of both of those things.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That is a huge issue that's not getting a lot of discussion, but the census is massive in how this country will be shaped going forward. Another big issue is Obamacare, but just health care in general. And I know you're championing a nationwide $50 billion rural health transformation fund that could touch 60 million Americans for more accessible health care, including obviously for Pennsylvanians and rural corners of your state. So tell us about that.
Yeah, this was a great idea from the president, from actually Dr. Oz led the charge on behalf of the administration, my former opponent in Pennsylvania. And it's really addressing something that's profound and important, which is our rural healthcare systems in Pennsylvania and across the country are failing. Economically, they're not working. They're not able to give adequate care to these rural communities. So the Trump administration proposed, and we voted for in the Working Families Tax Cut Act, this idea of a fund, a $50 billion fund that would invest not in actually supporting the economics of the hospitals, but in transforming rural healthcare, bringing telemedicine, bringing artificial intelligence, finding ways to serve those rural communities excellently. We got about $200 million a year for Pennsylvania over the next 5 years, and that money is going to be used to reinvent how we think about healthcare in this moment of profound change. And I've been touring rural healthcare systems over the last 3 or 4 months. I've probably been to a half a dozen of them. They are so excited. They know the current model doesn't work. So we need to get nurses, we need to get docs in these rural communities, but we need to use technology to make sure we give the very best care to these rural folks that have to drive 3 or 4 hours to get it otherwise.
Let's talk about Iran for a second. So, the president's warning that time's kind of running out to make a deal. As he said, there's an armada of warships within striking distance. Iran says that it's going to respond like never before to Trump's latest threats, whatever that means. What happens here?
Well, listen, I think we're at a profound moment in history. I remember, you and I are older guys, Rob. 1979 was when the Ayatollahs took control. It's been a repressive regime. It's been horrible and brutal to its own people. But what we're seeing now, 50 years later, is that the Ayatollahs are bankrupt. The Iranian regime is bankrupt. 80% of the people live in poverty. The strikes by Israel last year and the U.S. taking out the nuclear capability has shown the bankruptcy. The people protesting in the streets are the next generation that want a future for Iran that's going to be prosperous and free. And America stands behind them. And this is really an important difference between the Trump administration and the Obama administration and the Biden administration. When the protesters were in the street under President Obama, he didn't speak. He didn't say we are with the freedom-seeking people of Iran. That makes a huge difference to have the United States behind you. Doesn't mean we're necessarily going to put boots on the ground. I'm not sure what the president's thinking. I wouldn't prejudge what he's thinking about using additional military capability to tip the balance here. But we want to free Iran. I should also say that doesn't kill its people in the streets. I should also say that Iran, for the last 3 decades, has been the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, killing thousands of Americans in bases around the world, Khobar towers, and many more. This is a regime that has to come to an end, and I think President Trump is showing the right kind of leadership and putting pressure on Iran to make that happen.
Yeah, let's hope it ends the right way there. I can't let you go without, of course, the tough question. Are you happy with Mike McCarthy as the new coach of the Steelers?
Hey, listen, I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. He gave that press conference, and the one thing you can say is this guy's a yinzer. There's no doubt he loves Pittsburgh. He loves the Steelers, and he's going to put his heart and soul into him. I'm rooting for him.
Aaron Rodgers, would you take him back another year or no?
I'm a little less sure about that one. I was skeptical when Aaron Rodgers came, but then I said he's on the field, and he's an old guy. And now that I'm an old guy, I'm always cheering for the old guys. But I think we need a new day in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm just going to set the record straight. You and I are not that old. Senator Dave McCormick, it's always good to talk to you. Have a great weekend.
All right.